What is up, my friends? Welcome to Flippin' Bats. We got so much all-star stuff to talk. We're going to do all of that today. Rosters have been released, starters, reserves, and there are some big-time snubs. We're going to talk top three all-star game snubs today. On a list that's a plenty. There could be 10 names, but I narrowed it down to my top three all-star game snubs. We're also going to do top three AL MVP picks right now. We did NL last week. We're going to do American League this week. Power rankings, there's a big shift at the top. I'm going to walk through 10 through 1 in the power rankings. I do also want to talk about the Washington Nationals. It's something I've been thinking about for a while with this Nationals team. They just fire their manager and their general manager. Odd timing there, if you ask me. So, a lot to talk about today. Remember, Flippin' Bats is presented by Fanduel. Bet baseball with us all season long on America's #1 sports book. Today is Monday, July 7th, which means it is Mama Verlander's birthday. So big shout out to my mom. Happy birthday to my mother, who raised two incredible kids, as you asked me. One had 100 miles an hour in his right arm, and one gets to talk about baseball for a living. They are not the same, but two great kids, in my opinion. So happy birthday, Mama Verlander. A lot of stuff to talk about today. All-Stars, a lot of them, a lot of snubs as well. Let's talk American League All-Stars, because a lot of people listen to this show that aren't in the weeds on baseball social media, nor do they know every single name that is on the All-Star team. So I'm going to go through the starters real quick. American League starters in the infield. We have Vladdy Jr., Gleyber Torres at second base, Jose Ramirez at third base. Jacob Wilson of the A's is at shortstop. The infield reserves are Jonathan Aranda, Alex Bregman making the All-Star team, even though he is hurt. Jazz Chisholm Jr., Brandon Lau, Jeremy Pena, also hurt, makes the All-Star team. Bobby Witt Jr. as well. The outfield for the American League, full of Detroit Tigers. Riley Green, Javier Baez, the center fielder for the American League in the All-Star game. Can you imagine a year ago, 2 years ago, thinking, okay, Javi Baez is going to be the starting center fielder for the American League in the All-Star game? No, for multiple reasons. One, he's a stud of a shortstop, and two, couldn't hit anymore, but he's figured it out. Really cool story that Javi Baez is out there in center field. Starting right fielder is Aaron Judge. Outfield reserves are Byron Buxton, Stephen Kwan, and Julio Rodriguez. Catchers, starting Cal Raleigh and reserve Alejandro Kirk. DH, Ryan O'Hearn will be starting, and Brent Rooker is the replacement. The pitchers for the American League, you got Hunter Brown, Chris Bubich, Aroldis Chapman, Garrett Crochet, Jacob deGrom, an all-star, Max Fried, Josh Hader, Yusei Kikuchi, Andres Munoz, Tarek Skubal, Shane Smith, and Brian Wu. That is your American League roster for the 2025 All-Star Game. Obviously, picks, replacements will be filled in for all of these injuries and things, but these are the guys that were either voted in by fans, voted in by players, or put in place by managers. Obviously, the pitchers there. So that's the American League. On the National League side of things, for your All-Stars, infielders are Freddie Freeman starting at first base, Ketel Marte, Manny Machado, Francisco Lindor starting shortstop. Starting outfield, Kyle Tucker, Pete Crow Armstrong, Ronald Acuna Jr. starting. Just came back in May. He'll be the starting outfielder in Atlanta. Really cool story there. He'll also be in the Home Run Derby. Catcher starting Will Smith. And starting DH is Shohei Ohtani. The reserves, Pete Alonso, Ellie De La Cruz, Brendan Donovan, Matt Olson, Eugenio Suarez, Corbin Carroll, Kyle Stowers, Tatis Jr., James Wood, and Hunter Goodman made the All-Star team. So, again, replacements will be filled in. I'll go through the pitchers real quick. Jason Adam, Matthew Boyd, Edwin Diaz, Mackenzie Gore. Clayton Kershaw gets in as a legend pick from Commissioner Manfred. We saw it a couple of years ago with Miguel Cabrera and Albert Pujols. He put them in their final year. We don't know if this will be Clayton Kershaw's final year, but he does get in via the legend pick from Commissioner Manfred. Freddie Peralta, Robbie Ray, Randy Rodriguez, Chris Sale, Paul Skeens, Logan Webb, Zach Wheeler, and Yoshinobu Yamamoto get in as pitchers. So those are all the names that get in. That leaves some big-time snubs, in my opinion, of guys that did not get in. There's a plethora of them. But I put together my top three 2025 MLB All-Star Game snubs. And it was tough. It's tough to come up with three names, but we're going to do it. And we're going to start with the number three snub, in my opinion. We'll go 3 through 1. Number 3, I'm going Seiya Suzuki of the Chicago Cubs. This guy's got 77 RBIs and leads all of Major League Baseball in runs batted in. Look, my point could end there. The Major League Baseball RBI leader is not at the All-Star game. Makes no sense. Also has 25 home runs. That's 6th in Major League Baseball. Also has an 882 OPS. That's top 20 in all of Major League Baseball. Over the last 30 years, there have been 40 seasons where a guy had 25 plus homers and 75 plus RBIs before the All-Star break, and only one other didn't make the All-Star team. 40 seasons like that. And it's just Frank Thomas in the year 2000 and Seiya Suzuki in 2025. It makes no sense. It makes no sense that Seiya Suzuki didn't make it. He was asked after the game, his thoughts on it, about not being an All-Star and not being at the All-Star game. And he said, "I'm sorry, my plans are full." And then he did say, "I'm just kidding." He should absolutely be an All-Star. It's insane that he's not. Seiya Suzuki, for me, is my number 3 snub. At number 2, I'm going with George Springer. 16 homers, 53 RBIs, 10 stolen bases, and an OPS of 886. He's a top 5 offensive player in the American League, just behind Aaron Judge and Cal Raleigh in a lot of categories. He's 5th in slugging percentage, 4th in OPS, 4th in OPS plus, 4th in WRC plus. And in the month of July, he hit .545, best in baseball, a 1.827 OPS, best, 5 home runs, best, 13 RBIs, the best, and 12 hits, already the best. George Springer has been tearing the cover off of the ball. Now, here's what I can admit. I'm talking snubs, not why I think they didn't make it. I can give you a reason. I can at least understand why George Springer is on this list. He has gone absolutely off in the month of July. Now, for the reserves, the players vote for who they think should get in. I'm imagining most of these guys voted before George Springer started going off. It's July 7th as I'm talking and as this episode comes out. It's July 7th. The players vote, and they probably haven't voted in the last 7 days, which is when George Springer has been going nuts. So I can see why, but it doesn't change the fact that he's a snub. With the numbers he has, absolutely should be an All-Star. The Jays have been going off because of him. The Jays are leading the American League East because of what George Springer has been doing, and George Springer should be an American League All-Star. It's crazy. He is not, with an 886 OPS. George Springer, for me, is my number 2 snub, which leads to my top All-Star Game snub of 2025. And that man is Juan Soto. Juan Soto just signed the biggest contract, almost $1 billion contract, right? He didn't start off having a Juan Soto-esque year. But that doesn't change the fact that Juan Soto has over a 900 OPS. He ranks 2nd in the NL in on-base percentage, 6th in WAR, 7th in homers, 8th in OPS. He's 1st in offensive WAR, and he's 3rd in runs scored. He has an offensive WAR of 4. That's 1st in the National League. Only 7 players in MLB history have done the following before the All-Star break: 20 homers, 70 walks, 15 doubles, 10 stolen bases. Only 7 in history have done that before the All-Star break. Every single other one obviously made the All-Star game. Since when does a 900 OPS not get you in the All-Star game? That's insane. Juan Soto has been great for the last month to 2 months. He absolutely should be an All-Star. It's insane that he is not. I get he struggled to start. He struggled by his standards, and now he's back to playing to his standards. Juan Soto should be an All-Star. There's no rhyme or reason that he is not an All-Star. I guess somehow he's going to get in via a replacement, but like that still doesn't sit well with me. The guy's got over a 900 OPS. He's an all-star in every sense of the word. He's an all-star. So my top three all-star game snubs: Seiya Suzuki 3, George Springer 2, and Juan Soto is my number one snub this year. I did want to mention some other names because look, I told you there's like 10 guys I could talk about. Um, First of which would be Andrew Abbott, Framber Valdez. Okay, Andrew Abbott's having a phenomenal year. I think Framber's an all-star as well. The reason I honestly think Andrew Abbott should be in a top three. I think by the time this episode comes out, he could be named an all-star. Pitchers get put in as replacements all the time. Andrew Abbott will eventually be an all-star, I think. Same with Framber Valdez. But I still wanted to mention those guys, and it's crazy they weren't originally named all-stars. Trey Turner, a name I wanted to mention. Brian Abreu, reliever for the Astros. Relievers just get put in tough spots if you're not a closer. Josh Hader's obviously been fantastic here, but Brian Abreu is an eighth inning guy that deserves a ton of credit. He should be an all-star. Joe Adell, having a really good year. Ranger Suarez with the Phillies. And look, you're not going to hear a ton of mention about this guy, but I wanted to do it for a second. Casey Mize. Can we give Casey Mize some love? This man is 9-2 with a 2.63 ERA. An 8K per 9 strikeout ratio. He's having a phenomenal year. Let's give Casey Mize some love. And the way I'm going to give him some love is by saying this is an all-star game snub. He should be an all-star. So those are the names for me that come top of mind when mentioning all-star game snubs are those guys. A lot of names out there to be had. Obviously, the names come out and you talk a lot about the snubs, and I do think there's a lot this year. There are some surprising names that did make the All-Star game, but, it is what it is. You have the fans vote. I actually think the fans did a good job. The fans have done a good job. Phase one always brings like a team that voted more than everybody else to the top, but I do believe we ended up getting the starters right. For the majority of the starters around the league, on the National League and the American League, I think the fans got it right. The fans vote for the starters. When it comes to the reserves, that's the players. I honestly think the players got some of this wrong. But, those are the names. Those are my snubs. All-Star Game is around the corner. It will be next Tuesday. I will have quite the presence there. Flippin' Bats will be on the scene. I'll get there. I'm getting there on Friday. I will be there through Wednesday at everything. The HBCU Classic is Friday. The draft is going to be on Sunday. I'll be at the draft. I'll be interviewing players after they get drafted. Monday, obviously, the Derby. Tuesday is the game. I'll be down on the field talking to players, be getting a lot of stuff. So stay tuned. Make sure you subscribe wherever you listen or follow, because we got a lot of stuff coming up from the Major League Baseball All-Star Game, which is just about a week away. If you're listening Monday, it's a week and a day. If you're listening to this episode on Tuesday, we're exactly 1 week away from the MLB All-Star Game in Atlanta. I could not be more pumped for this. Last week, we talked top 3 NL MVP choices currently, like a top 3 NL MVP power rankings. So we need to do it with the American League. And this is going to ruffle some feathers. Let's start. My top 3 AL MVP picks right now. At number 3, I'm going with Tarik Skubal. Tarik Skubal is the best pitcher in baseball, hands down. What he has done lately puts him on one of the best stretches we've ever seen. He's the 4th lefty in MLB history to have at least 3 starts in a season with 0 runs, 0 walks, and 10 or more strikeouts. He joined Sandy Koufax, who did it in 1965, Randy Johnson, who did it in 2004, and Clayton Kershaw, who did it in 2015. This man has a 2.02 ERA. He has 148 strikeouts. And what makes him so impressive to me is he has a 33.9 strikeout ratio and a 3.2 walk ratio. Those are both the best in baseball. 33.9 strikeout ratio is the best in baseball. And he has the best walk ratio at 3.2. That's insane. He has a 4.7 F4, which is the best in baseball. He has 5 scoreless outings in his last 8 starts with a 1.12 ERA in his last 8 starts. I don't think we as a collective baseball whole are appreciating enough how good Tarek Skubal is. We're watching one of the best 2-year stretches in the history of baseball for a starting pitcher. That's what we're seeing right now for Tarek Skubal. He's clearly, in my mind, the best pitcher in baseball. But what we're not talking about enough is this stretch that we're seeing from him the last 2 years is one of the greatest of all time. That's how good Tarek Skubal has been, and he's absolutely in the American League MVP conversation. I have him at number 3. At number 2, let's start ruffling some feathers, my friends. At number 2 in my AL MVP power rankings, I am going to go with Aaron Judge. Now, I will explain this more, but first, let me explain number 1, which means at number 1 in my American League MVP power rankings, I am going to take Cal Raleigh of the Seattle Mariners. Now, before everybody gets all up in arms and says, how could you possibly say that? Listen to me loud and clear. Cal Raleigh has 35 home runs. He has 74 RBIs and an OPS over 1,000, 9 stolen bases while catching. Now, this whole time I'm going to talk, I want everybody to keep this in mind. He's a catcher. And if you don't for 1 second understand what I'm saying, then I just don't think you understand how important this is. A catcher is the hardest job on the field. Hands down, without a doubt, the hardest position on the field is a catcher. For Cal Raleigh to be doing what he is doing as a catcher, playing every day, behind the plate, catching, leading a pitching staff, leading a defense, and hitting at this level is unprecedented. And just offensively, his numbers are unprecedented. The only players in MLB history with more home runs than Cal Raleigh in a team's first 88 games. Listen to this list. Barry Bonds in 2001 had 39 homers. Babe Ruth in 1928, 38 homers. Mark McGwire in 1998 with 37 homers. Jimmy Fox in 1932 with 36 homers, and Babe Ruth again in 1921 with 36 homers. Those are the only players in MLB history with more home runs than Cal Raleigh in a team's first 88 games. He is on pace to break Aaron Judge's AL home run record. He has the most home runs ever for a catcher before the All-Star break, and he did that weeks ago. He has the most home runs ever for a switch hitter before the All-Star break, and he did that weeks ago. Obviously, Cal Raleigh's offensive stats are bananas. I know I'm going to get flack for this because Aaron Judge is hitting 360, but what Cal Raleigh is doing while catching is absolutely phenomenal. It's incredible. And look, defensively, I don't even care. Like, is he the best defensive catcher in baseball while doing this? He's just catching while doing this. But defensively, he hasn't allowed a single passed ball all season long. It's just him and Dylan Dingler are the only two catchers that can say that. Offensively, insane. As a catcher, in that ballpark in Seattle, which is extremely difficult to hit in, Cal Raleigh is the AL MVP right now for his offensive stats that are unprecedented and historic, and the fact that he is doing it as a catcher. I cannot stress enough how important that is. You don't expect your catchers to put up much offensively. You just expect them to lead a pitching staff, lead a defense behind the plate. It takes guts. It is a nightmare on your body. You break down your body. It is insane what he is doing behind the plate. For that reason, as we currently speak, Cal Raleigh, offensively, as a catcher, in that ballpark, is the AL MVP. I do have Aaron Judge, obviously, right on his heels. He's number 2 for me. He's hitting 360. He has 33 homers. He has a 1.202 OPS, 74 RBIs. He's first in basically every single category offensively in Major League Baseball. He's having arguably the greatest season ever for a right-handed hitter. He's leading the league in walks and hits, which is insane to think about. He's leading the league in walks and hits while he has 33 home runs. I'm not sitting here arguing that Aaron Judge is having a worse offensive season than Cal Raleigh. I hope everybody understands why I am taking Cal Raleigh, because his offensive numbers are historically good while he's playing a position that you're not even expected to put up offensive numbers. That's the difference for me. Aaron Judge, one of the greatest hitters, one of the greatest seasons ever for a right-handed hitter offensively. But you know what? Cal Raleigh's having maybe the greatest season ever for a catcher in history. So right now, I have him at number 1. So my top 3 AL MVP picks right now: Tarek Skubal at number 3, Aaron Judge at number 2, and Cal Raleigh at number 1 for my American League MVP picks. Still a lot to talk about today. It just happened over the weekend. The Washington Nationals fired their manager and their GM. I have a lot of thoughts here. One, I'm not surprised at all that they fired their manager and their GM. What I am surprised about is that they fired their manager and their GM a week before the Major League Baseball draft, when you have the number 1 pick. What are you doing? You weren't in contention all year long. You weren't expected to be in contention before the year started. Why now? You weren't in contention at the beginning of the year. You weren't in contention a month into the year. You weren't in contention a few weeks ago, and you're not in contention now. So why are you firing? Sure, your manager, sure, but your GM as well, 1 week before you have the number 1 pick in the draft. I can't fathom this timing. You have the top pick, the number 1 pick, and now your GM is gone, and now you're just putting in place your assistant GM to, quote, oversee the draft. This is a nightmare. I don't understand the timing. The Nationals aren't good. They weren't expected to be good. And now you have the number 1 pick on Sunday, and your GM is out the door. I'm confused about the timing, and I'm just confused about a lot of the way that the Nationals are running this organization. And I'm probably going to catch more flack for this, but I'm tired of hearing that the Nationals fleeced the Padres in their trade a couple of years ago with Juan Soto. Can we pump the brakes on the Nationals fleeced the Padres in the trade and they got back James Wood and C.J. Abrams and Mackenzie Gore? I love those players, but I've been hearing for 2 years now that the Nationals won the trade and that they fleeced the Padres, and the Nationals stink. Look, I like those guys a lot. James Wood, I think, is a superstar. C.J. Abrams, I think, is a stud. Mackenzie Gore, I think, is also an absolute stud. But did they really win the trade? They still stink. And it's not like the Padres got Juan Soto for a couple months, and then now he's not on the team anymore. Sure, you had Juan Soto for a little while, and then you flip him. You get Michael King. You have one of your best starting pitchers came as a result of getting Juan Soto in-house. You flipped Juan Soto into one of your best starting pitchers, and your team is still good. So, look, I understand those other players are great and young and controllable, but it means nothing if your team stinks and the organization does nothing about it. Is it possible that the Nationals could go on and look back and say, man, we won that trade? Yes, but we're a couple years removed, and I ain't saying that. The team still stinks. You have a team and an owner that has unfortunately passed away, and Peter Seidler. You have a team and an owner that went all in to win a World Series. And you went out and got one of the greatest hitters of all time. How do you not respect that? How can you say that team got fleeced when they were going for it and going for a World Series? I'm not going to sit here and say that the team that traded away a 23-year-old phenom because they didn't want to pay him won the trade. The team that stunk with him and stinks without him won the trade. Go spend some money and do something with those players you acquired. That's how you can win the trade. I'm not saying that it's not possible that they win the trade. The writing is on the wall to potentially. But you've done nothing. Your team still stinks. You traded away a 23-year-old phenom that every kid growing up was wearing a Juan Soto jersey saying, I want to be Juan Soto. You traded him away to a team that was going all in to win a World Series. That's still a good team. You traded away your phenom and you still stink. I'm not sitting here ready to say that the Nationals fleeced the San Diego Padres. That's a crazy thing to say. And I'm a little befuddled that everybody on the planet still thinks that. The writing's on the wall. I think it's a potential, but I'm not ready to say that. You have to go spend some money. So this leads back to what's happening with the organization and the firing of the manager and the firing of the GM. The GM that just made the trade and acquired all these players is now out the door. The GM that acquired all of these guys, that feels a connection to these new players, is now out the door. So what do you do with it? It's a similar situation with the Red Sox. Okay, you traded away your young phenom superstars. Who'd you get in return? What are you going to do? Well, okay, we have Rafael Devers. Our GM told him that he's going to be the third baseman and the star of this team. Well, that GM's now out the door. How'd that work out for the Red Sox? Rafael Devers isn't even on the team anymore. So it comes about, what are you going to do with these players you acquire? They're young, they're controllable, but so far you've wasted years of what they are. You've wasted years of this potential. You've wasted years of being able to say, we fleeced the Padres. Not yet, you haven't. Your team still stinks. So now that GM is out the door. So what happens now? How do you capitalize on this when you can't even figure out in-house who's going to be running the ship? No, I get everyone's point that the Nationals won the trade, but I'm not ready to say that, and I think there's just mass confusion within the organization, and I'm not going to sit here and say that when one team's still out there competing their tails off and winning, and this team, the Nationals, still stinks. So it's just a mess in the organization, and I can't fathom firing your GM a week before having the number one pick. If you're gonna say you fleeced that trade a couple years ago, why is the GM fired? Right? If he did such a great job, why is the GM fired? Because nothing has happened as a result. I love those players. James Wood is one of my favorite players in the league. He is a superstar. But you've done nothing with it. So we'll see what they do. We'll see. Look, maybe they had their number one pick ready to roll. Ethan Holliday's probably going number one is my guess. I'm going to do a full draft recap here later this week. The draft is Sunday. Going to do a full draft recap of all, their MLB's putting out a mock draft Thursday. I'm going to do a whole recap of that. I'm going to do a whole analysis of the draft, the top 10 picks, in my opinion, and talk a lot about them. I think Ethan Holliday, brother of Jackson Holliday and son of Matt Holliday, is going to be the number one pick to the Washington Nationals. So maybe they know that. But the draft ain't about one pick. There's a lot that goes into it. And firing your GM a week before it is crazy to me. I know I went down a tangent that I didn't expect to, but this draft situation and the timing of firing the GM bothers me. And it just led to a conversation that I've wanted to have for a little while now. We might look back I don't even think a year. We might look back in 2 years and say, man, the Nationals fleeced the Padres. But not yet. Not right now. It's crazy talk. Let's talk power rankings. The Nationals ain't going to be here. New and improved power rankings because it is Monday, and boy, oh boy, do we have a shift at the top of these power rankings. We have a shift at the bottom as well. Let's start with number 10. The Seattle Mariners are back in the top 10. They are new to them. They were not here last week. By new, I just mean not here last week. Seattle Mariners are back in it. They're 48-42. They're 7-3 in their last 10 games, and they are just one win behind the New York Yankees and the Tampa Rays, who are over in the American League East. Mariners at number 10 for me. Playing good ball. At number 9, I'm going to go with the Tampa Bay Rays, down 2 spots from where they were. They're 49 and 41. Look, they got in here a couple weeks ago. Then they move up, playing really good baseball. Now they're 4 and 6 in their last 10, not playing great. Bumped them down 2 spots, as I did the New York Yankees at number 8. I have the Yankees at 8, down 2 spots, 3 and 7 in their last 10. It's just been a tough go of it for the Yankees. Tough stretch right now. Bad stretch for the Yankees. Not getting much offensive production. Lost the series again to the New York Mets. Just tough. Tough go of it for the Yankees. So I did bump the Mets ahead of the Yankees winning that series. Good week for the Mets. They are up 2 spots from where they were last week. At number 6, new to the power rankings, all the way up to number 6, the Toronto Blue Jays. We have a new leader of the American League East. If you were to come into the year and say, at the All-Star Game, who is leading the American League East? Give me your top 3 teams. You have 3 chances to pick who's going to lead the AL East. You would say the New York Yankees, the Baltimore Orioles, and the Boston Red Sox. The Toronto Blue Jays would not be there, but guess what? They are. They're 9 and 1 in their last 10. George Springer is going off. He's been the best player in baseball in the month of July. Good for him. I love George Springer. Happy to see him playing well. He's the catalyst of this team. The reason they're playing well right now, 9 and 1 in their last 10. They sweep the New York Yankees, absolutely demolished the New York Yankees, and jumped ahead of them in the division. That's where they are right now, and that's why they're all the way up to number 6 in my power rankings. At number 5, staying the same, the Chicago Cubs. At number 4, staying the same, the Philadelphia Phillies. At number 3, down 2 spots from number 1 to number 3 is the Los Angeles Dodgers, meaning at number 2, I have the Houston Astros. Up 1 spot. They have the second best record in Major League Baseball, and they absolutely wiped the floor with the Los Angeles Dodgers in Los Angeles. May 8th, the Astros were 18 and 18. Since then, they have lost just 1 series. That's 2 months ago. They've lost just 1 series and have now won a series against every single division leader around Major League Baseball currently. The Astros are on an absolute roll. They went into Los Angeles where they're hated. All the stories come back from 2017 and that World Series. And I had some fun with this series on social media because I will forever love this little rivalry between the Astros and the Dodgers. I was on the field raising the trophy with Justin. Look, I had nothing to do with raising the trophy, but I was on the field with Justin for the ceremony, and our family raise up that trophy. I'll forever have fun with this rivalry between the Astros and the Dodgers. I had some fun on social media because the Astros absolutely wiped the floor with the Dodgers. They were not on the same playing field. And before everyone starts saying, with all the players on the Dodgers injured list, spare me. Do you know how many players are hurt on the Astros? Do you know what the Astros are doing right now with multiple starting pitching injuries? Jeremy Pena at shortstop is hurt. Yordan hasn't played the majority of the season. Yordan Alvarez, one of the best offensive players in all of baseball, hasn't played the majority of the season. So, look, I hear you, Dodgers fans. I hear you with the injuries. I really do. But spare me in this Astros-Dodgers series with the injuries. It don't work. They're on a level playing field. At least in terms of the injury list. They are not on a level playing field on the baseball field because the Astros absolutely demolished them in every facet of the game. Destroyed them. Game 1 was 18-1. That's the largest defeat in Dodger Stadium history, handed to them by their nemesis, the Houston Astros. Jose Altuve, multiple home runs. Hits multiple home runs. Crowd was even chanting Altuve as he was rounding the bases. I think that's what they were saying. Look, it couldn't have gone worse for the Dodgers. The Astros dominated. The Astros are inevitable, and they keep moving up the power rankings. I almost put them in number 1, but I didn't because the team that is at number 1 still deserves to be number 1. They have the best record in Major League Baseball. They're 7 and 3 in their last 10. A huge weekend sweep against the Cleveland Guardians. The Detroit Tigers are up 1 spot. to number 1. Now, this is close. The Tigers and the Astros did play each other early in the year, and the Astros did win that series. I was not yet ready to put the Astros at number 1 because the Tigers have the best record in baseball, and they are also playing good. A huge weekend series sweep. They have the best pitcher in baseball. Tigers, in my opinion, still deserve to be in that number 1 spot. But I've seen power rankings. The majority of power rankings out there still have the Dodgers above the Astros, and I just can't fathom that. It's not even, look, the series wasn't even in Houston. It was in Los Angeles, and they wiped the floor with them. The Astros were and are the better team and are deserving of being higher than them on the power rankings. So this week's power rankings, big shift. We have the Mariners at 10, the Rays at 9, Yankees at 8, Mets at 7, Jays, the Toronto Blue Jays at 6, the top 5, Chicago Cubs at 5, the Phillies at 4, the Dodgers are at 3, the Houston Astros at 2, and the number 1 team in Major League Baseball is the Detroit Tigers. Before we finish up, let's do a couple FanDuel picks for you because Flippin' Bats is presented by FanDuel. Got a couple Monday picks for you. First off, Monday is no or yes runs scored in the first inning. It's a quick, easy bet, and you get 50% profit boost on it. So I have a yes, no run in the first inning bet. Also, a couple extras for you. Tigers are plus money to beat the Rays today. I like that a lot. I think the Tigers win. Tigers money line over the Rays with plus money. I also like the Padres and D-backs over of 8 runs in that game. But my bet for Monday with the profit boost of 50% is no run in the first inning in the Dodgers-Brewers game. You can get a 50% profit boost there. We have Yoshinobu Yamamoto against Freddie Peralta. I'm going to go no run first inning for a 50% profit boost. Tuesday is Dinger Tuesday on FanDuel, which means another 50% profit boost. We're going to take Fernando Tatis Jr. this week, who faces Merrill Kelly on Tuesday. He's 10 for 28 with 4 home runs against Merrill Kelly. Give me all of that. 50% profit boost on that as well. So check those out on FanDuel Sportsbook. Again, Monday, Tigers money line over the Rays, Padres D-backs over 8 runs, and no run first inning in the Dodgers-Brewers game. Fernando Tatis Jr. is my Dinger Tuesday pick. Remember, must be 21 and older and present in select states or 18 and older and present in D.C. Opt-in required. Bonus is issued as a non-withdrawable profit boost token. Restrictions apply, including any token expiration and max wager amount. See terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit rg-help.com. Fun show. A lot going on around the game of baseball. We are 1 week away from the MLB All-Star Game. We are a few days away from me traveling to Atlanta for all the All-Star Game festivities, and a lot coming up with Flippin' Bats. So quick overview of what's coming. Obviously, John Smoltz joins every single week. We will talk to him. Also going to do an MLB Draft analysis. We'll do a recap of the MLB mock draft that will come out on Thursday. So this episode is going to come out sometime Thursday, Friday, sometime before the MLB draft. We'll have our draft episode up. I obviously am in tune with all the guys that are probably in the top first round. We're not going to talk full first round, but maybe a top 10 picks for you. We'll do a full analysis of the mock draft, who I think goes at number 1, who I think goes in the top 10, a little bit about every player, and who your team is going to draft, and a little bit about that player. The draft is on Sunday. I will be there for that, but we'll have a Flippin' Bats draft episode before that. We'll have a full All-Star Game episode as well. We'll talk about the Derby. There's going to be a lot coming up. So stay tuned. Make sure you're following wherever you listen to the podcast, Apple, Spotify, wherever. But check us out on our YouTube channel as well. I know we were pushing for 56,000 subscribers. We have passed that mark. We are off and rolling to 57,000 now. A lot of people are checking it out. Please check out and watch on our YouTube channel, Flippin' Bats Pod. Hop in the comments. I love talking to you guys in the comments. I love watching the live premiere with you all. So please subscribe to the YouTube channel, Flippin' Bats Pod, and you can watch every episode there. We're on all social media as well, at Flippin' Bats Pod. Check those out because I will talk about every episode that will be coming up. I don't exactly know the schedule of what that will look like right now, but we'll have a draft episode. We'll have an All-Star Game episode. I'm going to be talking to 1 million players there in Atlanta. A lot of fun stuff coming at you, so make sure you check it out. Flippin' Bats Pod wherever you can. I love you all. I love this community. John Smoltz episode coming up soon. Man, we are off and rolling. 2025, the year of Flippin' Bats, my friends. Remember, until next time, just a couple days with Smoltz. Find your bat and flip it. Peace. Flippin' Bats is presented by Fanduel Sportsbook. Must be 21 and older and present in select states. For Kansas, an affiliation with Kansas Star Casino, or 18 and older and present in D.C. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit rg-help.com. Call 1-888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org/chat in Connecticut. Or visit mdgamblinghelp.org in Maryland. Hope is here. Visit gamblinghelplinema.org or call 800-327-5050 for 24/7 support in Massachusetts. Or call 1-877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY in New York.